All right, let's discuss some quick terms. So a meteoroid is a chunk of space rock that is still in space. A meteor is one of these space rocks that is falling through the atmosphere, burning and glowing. So a meteor is actually the same thing as a shooting star. And a meteorite is a piece of space rock that has actually fallen to the Earth so that we can pick it up. Okay, so it's a meteoroid in space, a meteor through the atmosphere, and a meteorite when it's hit the ground. As we look at meteorites, these lump of space rocks, we put them into two broad categories. There are primitive and processed. Primitive meteorites appear to be essentially unchanged since their initial formation. As we look at primitive meteorites, they tend to fall into two categories, stony and carbon-rich. Stony means that they're a mixture of rock and metal. Carbon-rich is actually the same thing, but it has a higher abundance of carbon. And because it has more carbon, it actually appears darker in color. Some of these carbon-rich primitive meteorites are known as carbonaceous chondrites. And as we have studied them, they actually appear to be some of the very oldest objects in the solar system, dating to 4.6 billion years ago. Also in these space rocks, we have found very interesting organic molecules, including amino acids and nucleotides. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, and nucleotides are the building blocks of DNA. So in a space rock, from the time that the Earth was still forming, we actually have the building blocks of proteins and the building blocks of DNA. Now, I did not say that we have proteins in DNA, just the building blocks. And that's, in and of itself, is actually still really interesting. Now, as we look at the other category, processed, we see that there are two types for this. Processed meteorites are ones that have changed in some way since their initial formation. So the two categories are rocky and metal-rich. What we think happened with these is that these actually come from a differentiated asteroid. If you remember back, chemical differentiation is this process where objects separate based on densities. So at some point, there was an asteroid large enough and therefore hot enough that it was liquid. The metal, which is denser, sank to form a core, and the lighter stuff floated out to form a mantle and crust. Then this asteroid got hit really hard so that it shattered. The metal bits that used to be the core are what we now find as metal-rich meteorites, and then the outer bits are the rocky meteorites.